Hi guys, how are you?
Kids.
So it's nice and warm,
It's not that warm.
and we have our shovel from snow still up in our front porch. So we went on a walk today. Hopefully you guys got outside. It's Saturday. That you got outside and enjoyed the beautiful weather. And I want to show you something we have to remember.
Okay.
We want to show you guys something that we have right in our front rhododendron that we get to look at almost every day. So last week we learned about the ascension and Jesus going up into the heavens. And now this week we're going to learn.
That was Mrs. Mann's really
thought
out transition. This is how we transition.
We talked about, oh my goodness, the disciples were like, oh my goodness, our leader left us. Remember we talked about that, and they were, scared because the leaders and the high priests weren't too happy with Jesus, right? And so they were following Jesus, and so the followers of Jesus, they're like, those men are after them and don't like them, and so that made them nervous. And then their leader is now up in heaven and kind of left them what they thought was like alone. But Jesus told them that I would be sending a helper, and so that's what we're going to learn about today. What kind of a helper that Jesus sent to the disciples.
So
That's our transition.
So we're going to learn about a word, and you might have heard it in church before. It's called Pentecost, and it's a time in the church calendar. I don't think we talk about it too much in our church, but I remember growing up we talked about it a lot. It was one of the times we would celebrate in the church calendar. So Pentecost is when the disciples were in a room, they were hiding. As Mrs. Mann said, they were scared, they didn't know what to do. Jesus had left. Also, a couple of things to remember that, they saw what happened to Jesus, and those leaders were still looking for anybody that was following him because they wanted to get rid of anybody that had any relation to Jesus. So they knew that was a problem. And before Jesus left, he said, you're going to follow me, and when you follow me, your life is going to be it'll be difficult for you, but it's going to be worth it because of all the promises that I have in store for you in heaven. So it still might make you worried. So they were in this room, and when Jesus promised he was going to send a helper, he didn't say what that really meant. So I don't know if we've got any pictures.
Well, they were
You can show them the dark room.
huddled in a dark room.
This is disciples
I know.
not knowing what to do. They're
Kind of
waiting.
scared.
They're waiting, maybe for some direction, some idea. And then
This is the
something that was a lot like
Strong
a wind came through the room. And one of the really interesting things that happened was the disciples started talking in different languages. Now these are real languages. These are like, let's say, they would all spoken Aramaic, maybe some Greek, but they didn't know like Indian or Latin or some other languages that might have been around the area. But all of a sudden, some of the disciples knew those languages, and then not only that, some of the other disciples they understood what the first people were saying. So if somebody came up to you and said,
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
yeah, I would know that she just said, please pass the butter. That's a joke.
That's not what I said.
But that happened. But this was the Holy Spirit entering the disciples.
That was the helper.
That was the helper that Jesus
was
promised.
talking about.
And the Holy Spirit is another person of God. So we say things like God the Father, and God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. Now, they're all God, but they're different persons. So if you look at me, you see a being and you see a person. My person is the same as my being. That's not the same with God. You can see Jesus. You can't see God the Father, and you can't see the Holy Spirit. You know, you can get an idea of when the Holy Spirit is inside of you, but you can't see him. And when we get to heaven, we'll be able to actually see Jesus. And people would have seen him when he was on earth, and they would have even seen him if you and your parents sometimes go through the Old Testament. There's places in the Old Testament where we are almost certain that he was the one that was being talked about. When they say the angel of the Lord, that was probably Jesus. Or when Moses would have seen, that could have been Jesus as like the burning bush, the voice in the burning bush. It could have been Jesus whenever Adam and Eve saw God walking in the garden. That was probably Jesus. So the disciples, the Holy Spirit came into the disciples, and from that moment forward, they were brave now. They knew what they had to do. They had to go tell other people.
So they ran out
About the promises that Jesus told them, about the promises that God the Father had promised. And they were going to
Jesus died
finally
for
do
you.
their job
He
and go out
rescued
and
you.
spread out and go do their job and tell everybody else about them. So that's when they started doing it, and they got really brave. This wasn't something that they did. This wasn't them just saying, I'm going to be brave. This was the Holy Spirit entering their bodies and giving them an idea of what to say and how to say it, and for them to go out and preach. And one of the interesting things
all over the place.
is also something I want to bring up. So the reason why the Holy Spirit gave those languages to the disciples, because they weren't supposed to just stay around where they were. They were supposed to go way out. So some disciples went really far away, like maybe Spain. Or,
How many miles though? Like they don't know. Like
over 1,000.
Right.
They would have been over 1,000 miles away. They may have gone to like India. Actually, we're pretty sure that they did. I think it might have been Thomas that went to India, or Andrew, and I can't remember which one.
Really far away. Really, really far away.
So they knew these languages, and like,
Right.
let's say Andrew all of a sudden knew how to speak Indian. Well, he would have been the one that goes to India now, because he would have known how to speak to the people there and tell them about Jesus. That was something that the Holy Spirit blessed him with now. And you may know people that think now that, you know, you have to speak in some sort of language to know that you're filled with the Holy Spirit. That's not true. There are ways to know that you have the Holy Spirit inside your heart, and there's ways to know that other people have the Holy Spirit inside their heart, but that is not something that you need to do. I'm not saying that some people can't do that, but that's not something that has to happen. So we don't look for that anymore. But that was something that happened in the early church. So that's Pentecost. And then try to keep this a little shorter than we've been going
I know.
in the past. So Mrs. May wants to show you the birdies too. So this is...
We didn't tell them what it was.
Oh, no!
You know.
Surprise! So we have baby birdies in front of our house because
Here,
it's
let's go.
spring, and it's
Now, we might be able to see. Oh, no, see, I'm not going to be able to reverse it, so.
This is at the flipping upside down.
Yeah.
We'll probably have to scare the mom away.
Here, can I have my flip flop? Yeah, so.
Oh.
And if I can't get it on video, guys, I'll send you pictures.
The mom's there.
Yeah. So. You might see the mommy leave.
She doesn't want to move because they're going to get cold.
I know.
Oh, she just moved.
Ooh.
Okay, there they go. You see them squawking?
Oh, I don't know if they can see, but
Tip it down a little bit. I think you can see them. Okay, we're going to leave to let mom come
Oh
back.
my gosh, look at him.
She's hungry. The little baby's hungry.
Yeah, little baby's hungry. I hope you saw that. I don't know. So anyway, guys, hope you have a fantastic week. We miss you. And yeah, we miss you.
We do.
So hopefully we'll see you soon. And remember to practice your 10 Commandments.
Yes.
Okay? All right. Bye.
Bye.